Why is the idea of social conditioning so compelling? Not the actual content that is being put into our brains, allegedly, but the idea that it is possible, that it is a logical explanation for many of the things that we see in society today. That a group of people can somehow take some ideas, some desires, some inclinations, some behaviors, and somehow sneak them into the brains of the masses without the consent of the masses. Why is this idea so compelling? One strange way to think of any society, any civilization, is a collection of idea chambers. And everybody can produce ideas. Everybody can receive ideas. Everybody can transmit ideas. And many, many ideas are being generated all the time. And some ideas take off like crazy. And they get into the brains of a lot of other people. But some ideas don't. Some ideas just don't make sense. And there's this strange theory that we take ideas into our brain, kind of like we take food into our mouth. We've evolved a taste for food, so the food that tastes good helps us to survive. Similarly, we've evolved a taste for ideas, so the ideas we like, the ideas that taste good in our brain, help us to survive. They're not necessarily true, but we just like certain ideas more than we like other ideas, just like we like certain food more than we like other types of food. And the food that we like matches up with what helps us to survive. And the ideas that we like in our brain matches up with the ideas that help us to survive for whatever reason. So why is the idea of social conditioning one of these ideas that everybody seems to enjoy believing is possible? One crazy mind experiment we can do is separate all the people in society into two different categories, two different groups of people. One group secretly wishes they could be in charge one day. They could be the ones that come up with the ideas that get to be put into everybody else's brain. For this group of people, it makes perfect sense to believe that that is possible. Because if you believe that this is possible, then you'll have the legitimacy to fantasize about one day about being the mind control puppet master tyrant of society. But what about the other group of people? What about the group of people that are being socially conditioned? Why would they believe it's possible? Why would they believe it's possible for some outside entity to slip ideas into their brain without their consent? Ideas that might not help them. This doesn't seem to make a lot of sense on the surface. But if we look a little bit deeper, we might find an answer. And this is a very uncomfortable answer. Let's examine the typical person in a typical society. The typical person is an average person. They have an average life. They have average salary, average relationship skills, but they would very much like to become above average. They would very much like to become above average. But they don't really see it happening. So this situation is very common. Somebody has an average life. They kind of realize they have an average life. They would very much like to have a higher than average life, a better than average life, but they don't really see it happening. How do somebody respond to this situation? Well, there's two possible ways you could respond to this situation. The first is to acknowledge, hey, I'm average. I'm always going to be average. I'd like to be above average. I'd love to be way above average, but I'm always going to be average because I suck. I'm an average person with average skills, and I'm never going to get more than I have today. That's very hard to accept. In fact, I don't think our ego would allow us to accept such a response to an average life. Now, on the other hand, imagine a different response. I'm an average person. I have an average life. I would love to have a higher than average life, a better than average life, but I've been programmed with all these ideas that are keeping me limited. So even though I don't think I'll ever be above average, it's not really my fault. It's somebody outside of me's fault. Someone in society has put these ideas in my brain. A common example of this is the belief that we've been programmed to believe that money is evil, that wanting money is evil. I'd love to make a lot of money. I'm just barely getting by right now. I'd love to make a lot of money, but I've been programmed to believe that making money is evil. So that belief that came in from outside of me that I didn't agree with is keeping me from making a lot of money. It's not my fault. I mean, I'd love to make a lot of money, but what am I going to do? That's a much more comfortable belief. And when you think about how everybody has similar beliefs like this, or a lot of people have similar beliefs like this structure, this belief structure that I like to be better than I am, but I'm not capable of because of outside influences that program my brain, that becomes socially proved. A lot of people believe that same thing, and that makes it that much harder to snap out of that trap. But just ask yourself the question, is it really possible to socially condition the masses? This is something that was extensively studied after World War II, with the explosion of the economy and the explosion of advertising. And psychologists have found that study propaganda, that you can't really program someone, you can't really persuade someone unless they have a preset inclination in their mind to do the thing that you're trying to persuade them to do. For example, consider the famous movie theater experiment. This is an experiment that a lot of people like to point to prove that we are being subliminally advertised or programmed all the time. They had a movie theater and they blasted messages on the screen, subliminal messages, very, very fast. You could barely see them, but your subconscious could pick up on them. And the messages said, buy Coke, buy Coke, buy Coke, buy popcorn, buy popcorn, buy popcorn. And they increased sales by a significant amount. Now, people point to this to say, look, if there's proof that they're programming me. It's not my fault. I have a bunch of beliefs in my head that didn't come from me. I'm being trapped inside this cage of beliefs that I didn't put there. It's not my fault that I'm an average person, that I buy things I shouldn't buy, that I do things I shouldn't do. But just consider this experiment a little bit more deeply, the popcorn Coke experiment. They were subliminally programming people. They were persuading people. They were socially conditioning people to do things that they probably had already done before. These were people that were sitting in a movie theater, which meant they probably had come to a movie theater before. And some of those times they probably bought Coke and popcorn before. And they were surrounded by people that were buying and drinking and eating Coke and popcorn. They could probably smell the popcorn in the movie theater. So this subliminal messages actually did increase sales, but it increased sales by convincing people to do something that everybody around them was already doing and that they had done before themselves. So that's not much of a persuasive push. Now imagine if they would have tried to subliminally program people to buy broccoli at the popcorn stand. They probably would have had a very, very less than stellar result, probably zero. And if it was so powerful, if subliminal programming on the masses against their knowledge, against their will was so powerful, it was so useful, why don't they use it more often in schools? Why don't they make kids in schools watch movies where they blast messages that say, study, 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 do your homework, do your homework, do your homework, get an A on a test, get an A on a test. That would prove that it works, but it seems to only work in situations like the popcorn example, where we're already inclined to do the thing that they're trying to program us to do. So ask yourself, does social conditioning really work? Really, really think about this question. If you do believe it does work, if you do believe it's possible for external entities to program your brain to change your behaviors, then why can't you do that to yourself? Why can't you take control of your own brain and program your own brain to do the behaviors you want to do so that you can become better than average? If you believe it's not possible, then you're already ahead of the game. You already believe that you control your own brain. And if you control your own brain, then it's just a matter of figuring out how to program yourself to become better anyways. So think about this question. Is social programming possible? And if you believe it's possible, just ask yourself, why do you believe it's possible? And if it is possible, you can take control of your own brain. If it's not possible, you can still take control of your own brain. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you'd like to learn more about how to program your own brain and take control of your life, check out the links below. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.